My friends, it is so good to be here with you on the 186th gathering of Convention of the Episcopal Diocese of Louisiana. Almost a year ago, during my ordination weekend, I shared with you a bit of the story behind the design of my ring and how the cross, representing faith, hope, and love, became the centerpiece of its design. My great-grandparents carried this embroidered cross with them when they immigrated from Greece to the United States. I can imagine it carefully tucked away in a suitcase of family heirlooms, a symbol of the faithfulness of generations that had gone before. And now, many years later, is a daily reminder for me, not only of my call with you as your bishop, but provides a roadmap of our life together. So in a conversation with a clergy friend, I shared with him my idea of focusing on faith, hope, and love over the course of the first 3 years of my episcopacy. He said to me, "Shannon, I think that sometimes the word faith gets lost and needs a little rescuing. It can get lost in sentimentality. It becomes something that we put on a shelf for another day. A nice thought for sure, but somehow disconnected from the reality of our lives." So as we planned this convention, as we reflected upon this past year together, and as we look forward, I have so much to share with you. As I have traveled across the diocese, from our urban centers to the bayou, from the North Shore to the banks of the Mississippi River, the answers to how we begin to approach the important conversations around our common vision and our mission began to come into focus. Framed by our common faith and bound together in our common worship, you have helped me to see. Week after week, visit after visit, I am inspired by the impact that each of you make on your lives, the welcome that you extend, the love of Jesus that you so profoundly share. I see it in our big and our small churches, in schools, in the streets of our urban centers, and along the banks of the bayou. The realities of our struggles are real. But my friends, so is our vitality. So my vision for this diocese is to wrestle with what is hard, while also lifting up the so many things which are alive and well. There is so much richness in our life together. Our task is to look constantly with new eyes and new perspectives. So, I invite you to walk with me for a few moments as we explore our lives of faith here in the Diocese of Louisiana. Our theme for this convention is Faith Amplified. And throughout today, we are so excited to share with you a window into 3 very different characteristics of this work that are outlined in Marcus Borg's book, The Heart of Christianity. They are faith as fidelitas, the commitment of self at its deepest level, and the commitment of the heart. Faith as fiducia, radical trust in God, and additionally how we grow that trust with one another. And faith as visio, a way of seeing God and therefore seeing God in each other. So today, as you listen to the convention preparation, the presentations, attend the breakout sessions, sit together at lunch and have conversations with each other, see the videos that we have prepared for you, our hope is that you will catch a glimpse of how our faith in Jesus Christ is put into action here in the Diocese of Louisiana. So fidelitas. It calls us to a commitment to nurture our relationships with each other My friends, the relationships that I am building with you truly are the joy of my heart. I was your canon, of course, for 9 years, and we spent a whole lot of time together. But in this new role as bishop, I felt it was important for me, for us all to get to know each other in a new way. And it's been a busy year. In addition to 30 parish visits so far since my consecration, I have been so grateful to make so many memories with you. Over the course of the year, I visited 7 of our 13 parochial and parochial and diocesan day schools, with more visits planned for 2024. A commitment to the formation and education of our children is a top priority of my ministry. I've hung out with the ECW, walked with Inclusive Louisiana in the Pride Parade, tapped my feet to the Battle of the Clergy Bands, and celebrated the opening of the Dogwell House Community Resource Center, a mission at St. Anna's Episcopal Church, and that's just the beginning. Additionally, I've also connected us on a national church level, both by attending several bishop ordinations, as well as fully participating in the meetings of the House of Bishops and what we love to call Baby Bishops School. I also serve as a trustee at the University of the South at Sewanee, and the way that I look at this is it's not only for me a way for me to connect, obviously, with other bishops and other dioceses, but it's a way for them to also get to know me, which means it's a way for them to get to know us. This is a way to get to know about great things happening in the Diocese of Louisiana. You mentioned in the profile that you wanted the diocesan office and the bishop to be more visible on social media. Each and every week on Facebook and Instagram, you have traveled with me across the diocese and across the wider church. And I do this because I way that I want you all to see not only, okay, so what's she doing, but also for you to see how you're connected to each other and the unique gifts that each one of us bring. And it shows such tremendous strength in this diocese, and I love it. I mentioned it last night. It's just a joy. One of the very first things that I did after my ordination was to revitalize the Episcopal Schools Commission under the direction of Dr. Carrie Stapley, who's had the school at Episcopal in Baton Rouge. The wonderful thing about this group, it is a way for school heads, leadership, chaplains, rectors to meet together regularly and draw wisdom from one another. The centrality of our Episcopal identity and the values that it instills in our lives of our children and our families is vital to our growth. In addition to outlining the new directions that we are taking with our youth program, Father Peter Wong, a member of our Diocesan Youth Leadership Commission, will also hold a breakout session this afternoon. He will focus on a few simple principles that you can carry with you into your own church context as you seek to grow your church. Again, doesn't matter how big or small you are, come and listen and hear and share some wisdom. Alongside of Archdeacon Charlie Degerbell, we reestablished our Deacons Council. Charlie will share more this morning, but we are thrilled that over 50 people attended our recent Day on the Deacons at the Solomon Center. This was a time for deacons, current deacons, deacons who have been in this role for many, many years, those who are currently in the process, and those who are seeking out a call to come and be together. I am beyond grateful to share this ministry with him and with all of them. Under the direction of my staff, and again the DYLC, we embarked upon a bold new adventure in 2023. We applied for a Lilly Foundation grant focusing on how to approach modern Christian parenting. After gathering up for months of working alongside of ministry architects, this summer we received word, as we've shared with you, that we received a $1.25 million grant. We are engaged in exciting conversations with our grant consultants about how our Episcopal parenting kits can meet families where they are and help build generational bridges to our faith communities, to your faith communities. This is, again, a way for families, especially around our small churches, and help equip our small churches with resources and pull these two together. We look forward to sharing more with you about that later this morning. The second aspect of our faith is fiducia. How do we live out our faith? By trusting in God. In addition, how do we as a diocese build your trust? By being faithful stewards of the precious resources entrusted to our care. I believe strongly that any budget process should be a prayerful, spiritual journey. And when we engage our lives in this way, we then allow our faith to shape our priorities. Our faith shapes our priorities. And as your bishop, I am committed to put the structures in place to make this diocese strong and sustainable. Plans are already in place to introduce a finance committee that will meet throughout the year. Currently, what happens is certainly our board of trustees, our executive committee, we all are watching carefully how throughout the budgeting process, but a finance committee will give us an opportunity to just do that extra work throughout the year so that when we gather at convention, as we present our budget, we do more of a deep dive into what our budget priorities are. We will commit ourselves to regularly check our budget priorities against our vision. Do they line up? Since December, I've been working closely with Tanya Wadsworth, Executive Director of the Solomon Episcopal Conference Center, to seek ways that we can make sure that the Solomon Center continues to thrive well into the future. We identified and reached out to Rob Watson, a seasoned consultant with the Episcopal Camp and Conference Centers, to conduct an intensive evaluation of the Solomon Center. Again, this is where the National Church connections make a difference. I reached out to a couple of bishops who had done work in their own conference centers, and all of them said, he's who you need to have. And what he discovered is that the Solomon Center is a place with tremendous potential, deeply loved by the diocese, committed to first-rate hospitality. But we also know that camp and conference centers across the country are struggling, especially in the wake of pandemics, and they're closing. And we don't want that to happen. So Rob returned to the Solomon Center about a month ago to work with the board to do business development and sustainability. I also want to express my deep gratitude to the Solomon family for their continued support of the center for so many years, most notably an extraordinarily generous gift to replace key HVAC systems on the campus. Gary knows of my thanks, but I have included in my address for the generous gift, and there's the years and years of commitment that the Solomon family has had to the center. A year ago at this convention, you all very clearly stated that you felt that the next season of ministry in the diocese was to engage in Latino Hispanic ministry. In March, Carla DePlantier stepped skillfully into her role as our Latino Hispanic ministry coordinator, supported by the amazing generosity of a $100,000 gift by Don and Kathy White, who are here with us this evening. Thank you. I said this evening, it's actually morning. I do know that. In addition, over the last 2 years, Episcopal Relief and Development has granted us $250,000 towards direct relief to Latino families affected by Hurricane Ida. We just received word that this will continue in 2024 with the potential exciting expansions. We received a $5,000 discernment grant through the Episcopal Church to support this ministry and have applied for a larger seed grant that we hope, I hear, we're going to find about next week. Our Latino and Hispanic ministry is dynamic and growing, and we look forward to sharing more with you this morning. So this summer, my phone rang, and it was Bishop Brian Pryor. Many of you are familiar with him. He's on the board of the Episcopal Church Foundation, and he was also Bishop of Minnesota. And he called me and he said, Shannon, your little diocese, the Diocese of Louisiana, you're doing mighty things. And I said, of course we are. What do you think? He said, well, the board met this past week, and we've identified Louisiana as one of our 4 partner dioceses that we want to support over the next year. What happens is the Episcopal Church Foundation gets together with what's called the Diocesan Vitality Initiative. And we get together and they put all of the resources of the Episcopal Church Foundation into this year-long process where we get to engage in conversations around renewal and redevelopment and revitalization. I couldn't be more excited. He asked me to identify 4 other clergy and lay people to be a part of this team to have this conversation. We will be engaged in directed and supported conversations with ECF about long-term strategic planning for the diocese as we set our own budget priorities. Again, how do our budget meet our faith, meet our vision? In addition, we'll have the opportunity to establish relationships with other dioceses doing the same work. Here in Louisiana, we are also committed to helping you in every way that we possibly can. My staff is always available to you. And if you haven't yet checked out our resource library, it has so much in it, ranging in topics from vestry training to stewardship ideas, especially for our small churches. These videos provide training, best practices, and resources to already overtaxed volunteers and clergy. Check it out. We continue to add to this library. It's very accessible to you. And we'll be adding throughout the year. And then during one of our breakout sessions, Father Craig Dalforus will share his wisdom and experience on parish endowments and how you can foster long-term financial health in your congregation. Again, no matter how big or how small. Finally, I want us to take a moment to think about faith as physio. Faith as a lens through which we not only see each other, but how we share and celebrate the love of Jesus and how we look forward together as we craft ministry in this diocese. Blessed Frances Joseph Godet is a name that is familiar to many of you. Born in 1861, she dedicated her life to both prison reform as well as the education and formation of Black children at the school that bore her name. The school was extraordinarily successful during a remarkable time in our nation's history and served as a beacon of light in the New Orleans community. Canonized as a saint in the Episcopal Church in 2006, she stands as an icon of hope and advocacy. Her legacy, which comprises the largest percentage of our diocesan endowment, has carried forth her vision since the endowment's creation in 1952. Since then, scholarships and grants have been awarded to the same communities that she desired to reach. So early in my episcopacy, I began to wonder, what more can we do? And this began an interesting journey. I think, of course, in order to look forward, we have to also look back. So over the last 6 months, the staff in the diocesan office, most particularly Chris Speed, who has a real gift for doing this type of work, went back, went through old journals, went through financial records, I was talking about keeping journals, we kept all of that, actions of convention, to dive into the history, financial management, and stewardship of the Godet Fund. We will be sharing more details with you as this becomes finalized, But what I felt was important was to make sure that we have been good stewards of this money. And what we can find so far from our research points to the fact that this diocese has committed itself for so many years, from the time that we purchased the Gaudet Normal and Industrial School to this day, that we have upheld the vision of Ms. Gaudet, ensuring that this fund is administered in a way that honors her legacy. My friends, I find that extraordinary and such good news. So then after we did this research, we began to wonder out loud about how to continue her legacy in this diocese, and an idea began to bubble up. Father Rob Courtney will talk about this more, but over a cup of coffee we began to imagine something that is inspired by Blessed Francis Gaudet, rooted in the Episcopal Church's charge to engage around work and racial healing, environmental stewardship, and youth. How does that look for our patron saint to step more fully into the light here? Again, he'll share more with you this morning about how to grow and expand her legacy. This morning you will also watch a video about the renovation and grand opening of the Dodwell House, a ministry of St. Anna's Episcopal Church. What began as just a few students, as a vision for children in the neighborhood by Father Bill Terry and Mr. Darrell Durham, has now blossomed into a creative and successful after-school program that has caught the attention of regions and of institutions far beyond Louisiana. Each and every day, the staff is committed to looking forward with hope and expectation. And then there was this home. Literally, when I first walked into the Dodwell House, the walls, the floors, you could barely walk through it. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see what's happened in that place, it is truly extraordinary. Kaven Davis, the executive director, said the first time that the children walked in the doors of the Dodwell House, they stopped, and one child looked up and he said, "This is for me." It's amazing. Additionally, in our breakout sessions, Father Andrew Thayer will host a conversation about how Trinity Church in New Orleans engaged in their own journey of Visio by establishing the Legacy Committee, a year-long process of conversation that led to the eventual renaming of Bishop's Hall. Bishop Phoebe Rove came back in May. She returned home to celebrate the conclusion of this holy work and to bless the space. Vision inspires leadership. Mission follows vision. And in turn, extraordinary things will happen. I love being a bishop. I love doing this work with you. This address only captures a small portion of what is so good about what it means to be an Episcopalian right here, right now, in South Louisiana. You have your own stories. Share them. The world is hungry for connection and hope. But what I want you to know is this. I am here for you. My staff is here for you. The people in this room, look around this room. These people are here for you. And although we have challenges, the threat of natural disaster, thank gosh, we did not have a saltwater wedge here this week. That was the original timing of that lovely natural disaster. Sea level rise, it's a real thing. And I promise you that in the course of my episcopacy, we're going to be doing some real work around this. Increasing property insurance rates, global unrest, and the ongoing struggle to reconnect after the pandemic. What is also true is that over the course of the year, I have also confirmed, received, and baptized, to my count, 212 people. That, right there, my friends, is a sign of hope. In fact, the line was so long at Christ Church Covington that my husband, who you know, who sits in the back of the church, he actually walked down the street, got a cup of coffee, and was actually back in time for communion. I actually wanted to say to you, just as a side note, he is, I'm so proud of him. He's on the search and rescue team for Pointerview Parish, and they asked him to be on the rescue boat this morning, so he sends his best, but he is doing his good work as well. So know this, my hope, my faith in God, and my absolute love of each of you is not pie in the sky sentimentality. It is firmly rooted in the dogged resilience of this place that we all call home. I see it every single day in your faces. I've said this to you many times before. You inspire me. No, we don't know all the answers yet. And sure, I'm going to surely do something that you may not agree with, and that's okay. If we're in disagreement sometimes, that means we're connected. But what I do know is that there is no other group of people that I would rather do this work with than you, the Diocese of Louisiana. Thank you.